future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, January 22nd, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. If you guys missed it yesterday, we had a banger of a show, as the kids say, with guests 7Cs and Ruckus. Everybody should go take a look at that show if you haven't already. We do a deep dive into directed energy weapons, EMF, pollution, health damages. Take a look at DAVOS on day 3. Go over technocracy and a bunch more there. Go take a look at that show on all your Weaponized News channels. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We appreciate it. And the new subscribers, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. And go follow 7Cs and Ruckus as well. What do we got today for everybody? Quite a bit today. What is up with Trump's hand? Trump has a big bruise on his hand over there at the World Economic Forum. Not in good health, honestly. We have Trump suing JP Morgan Chase, not arresting Jamie Dimon. He's suing him for his own personal gain, saying that he was debanked. And he'll probably win. But the rest of us, not so much. Not so much caring about the rest of us from Trump. Because if he cared about the rest of us and was the true populist president, as he claims to be, or is portrayed as, his character is portrayed as, then again, first thing he would have done was march the Marines or the U.S. Marshals, whoever the hell, big men with guns that work for the government, down to J.P. Morgan Chase and arrested Jamie Dimon, and then went about arresting the heads of all the major banks here in America. But that won't happen. But don't you worry, Trump's suing JP Morgan for $5 billion for his own personal claims. You and I get debanked. We don't even have enough money to afford a lawyer to bring a lawsuit. America first. Trump cares about America. We got the government's reply to the report yesterday by the Associated Press that ICE doesn't need a warrant to enter people's homes. They're defending it as per usual. More fallout going on there in Minnesota. We're waiting to see if more federal troops, National Guard, or actual military, straight up Marines, I guess. We're waiting to see on that front if more troops will be deployed. They're waiting on standby, reportedly. Department of Homeland Security, along with every other government agency, is reportedly monitoring the situation there in Minnesota. They arrested this F Trump protester over there in Minnesota. We'll cover that. What else do we got? Some things went through the Congress. Oh, we have a Congress, by the way, not just the imperial dictator Trump. Allegedly, there's another branch of government out there, but we're still, I guess that's a conspiracy now. I guess there is no Congress, but they did pass some things today. We'll go over for whatever Congress is worth. Not a whole lot. And then we have day 4 of Davos. Of course, the World Economic Forum. A lot of clips from that. Some very comical ones, actually. Our dictator here in California, Governor Gavin Newsom, lamenting tyranny at the World Economic Forum, the tyranny of the federal government under Trump. It's pretty, let me tell you something. Living here my whole life in California, the rule under Gavin Newsom is pretty damn tyrannical as well, especially during the medical intervention period. But even before that and subsequently after that, we'll take a look at that. Who else do we got? We got Elon Musk. He's saying that by the end of this year or next year, AI will be smarter than all of humanity. I don't know. That's what Elon Musk, but of course he's selling it as well, right? So of course it's all wonderful. Clips from Elon Musk over there. Some clips from Zelensky out of Ukraine. A couple other here and there's. A couple clips about the miracle, how wonderful it all is. And then the little bit of geopolitical news. And then the big announcement today, the peace board there. Trump's peace board in Gaza. We'll go over all that. Jared Kushner's presentation on it all. It should be called the Genocide Profiteering Board because that's exactly what it is. But they're trying to brand it as the peace board as they're stacking bodies of Palestinians today, the genocide continues, and they're establishing a peace board at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Disconnected? They don't care. They simply do not care. Complete psychos. And a bunch more. Our genocide news and just in general insanity here coming out of that camp. Okay, let's get to on this day in history. On this day of January 22nd, we go back to the year 1528. We saw England and France declare war on the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V on this day. In 1814, on this day, we saw the first Knights Templar Grand Encampment in the United States is held in New York City. 1814 on this day, Knights Templar. 1879, on this day, we saw the British battle the Zulus, the Battle of Rorke's Drift. A British garrison of about 150 holds off 3,000 to 4,000 Zulu warriors, 11 Victorian crosses, and several other decorations are awarded to the British defenders. In 1970, where are we at? 1945. 1945, on this day, we saw a heavy U.S. bombing campaign carried out in Okinawa, Japan. In 1973, on this day, in a landmark decision, the U.S. Supreme Court legalizes most abortion, Roe versus Wade. Writing the majority opinion, Justice Harry Blackmun states that the criminalization of abortion does not have roots in the English common law tradition. It's very liberal of them. And then in 1984, on this day, we saw Apple's famous 1984 ad, directed by Ridley Scott, loosely based on George Orwell's 1984. Here is a clip of said ad. I thought I would play for everybody to remind you.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the information purification directives. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests of any contradictory reports. Our unification of the laws is more powerful a weapon than any fleet
computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
We're pretty much like 1984, but even worse, honestly, at this point. In 2017, on this day, Jared Kushner is sworn in as senior advisor to U.S. President Donald Trump. And of course, we all voted for Kushner during Trump's second term, right? Kushner, who served as senior advisor to the president during Trump's first administration, explicitly stated in early 2024 that he would not take a former role in a second Trump administration, citing a desire to focus on his private equity firm, Affinity Partners. Reliable reports from sources including Reuters, NBC, the Washington Post confirm that he and Ivanka did not assume any official White House positions after Trump's inauguration for his second term, while Kushner attended the inauguration ceremony and has since played an informal advisory role, particularly in Middle East diplomacy. So we can trust him, right? Because he promised 2 years ago he's not going to be part of any of this. He's leading all of this, and I'm sure profiteering handsomely. He's just a dude, not even formally part of the Trump administration, has taken no oath. He's just a dude that goes around making international deals on behalf of America. Like, seriously, what the F is going on? We'll get to it when he presents his proposal for the Gaza 15-minute technocracy city, essentially, smart city. We'll get to that. Here's our segue to the news. Trump yesterday, still bragging about Operation Warp Speed. I'll never forgive Trump for this.
And so it began. And we ended up with the COVID, and the whole world suffered. We did a phenomenal job. I don't think we got the credit we deserve. We did something that Operation Warp Speed, which some people say was one of the greatest military feats ever. We did a great job. Used our military, used a lot of people. And so
Truly disgusting. Truly disgusting. The U.S. House of Representatives narrowly defeat Venezuela war powers resolution in a 215 to 215 vote. The bipartisan resolution to restrict Trump's military authority in Venezuela failed after a dramatic vote that hung tied at 215 to 215. Christian Zionist Speaker Mike Johnson held the vote open for 20 minutes. Representative Pat Ryan yelled, "Close the vote. This is serious," as Republicans scrambled. Then Representative Wesley Hunt arrived late and broke the stalemate, killing the measure. Only 2 Republicans, Massey and Don Bacon, voted for it. The White House response: "It's a shame these members of Congress want to usurp the authority of the commander-in-chief." One late arrival decided the whole thing. So, yeah. Congress advocating their duty to declare war to the executive. Here's Trump's hand. It's not looking in good health. There's his hand at Davos, bruising there. Is he on blood thinners? I don't know. Here's audio when asked about his hand and his health. Remember, what did the White House say? They said, oh, that, and he's had that bruise for months, right? People are speculating it's from an IV, it's from this, that, and the other. Who knows? The White House lies. They say, oh, Trump got this bruise on his hand. Remember bobblehead Levitt, press secretary lady, said, oh, he got this bruise on his hand when asked like a month ago Oh, he got it from shaking too many hands, is what they said. Really? Here's Trump's reply when asked about it. Audio only clip.
What's on the bruising on your hand? Are you okay?
Very good. I clipped it on the table. So I put a little, what do they call it, cream on it. But I clipped it.
More lies. Says he, if you couldn't hear it, says he clipped it on the table. Really? I guess he's banging his hand on the table for months on end. He's constantly screaming on his social media posts. Maybe Trump is losing his friggin' mind. I know that's the Democrat left wing media out there's been pumping that for a long time. I haven't been, but it's starting to look like he's very unstable and in bad health, honestly. I hope that he stays in good health, because if anything were to happen to Trump, we got J.D. Vance waiting in the wings. So imagine that. There probably won't be any difference, honestly, at this point. They're puppets for technocracy. So would it even make a difference? Probably not. Probably not. The White House announced today that, well, I'll show you the post here. We have the World Expo is coming to America in 2035. Trump says, I'm announcing today the U.S. intention to bid for the World Expo of 20. I guess we don't even have it. We're bidding for it. The great state of Florida has expressed strong interest in hosting the expo in Miami, which I fully support. Miami Expo 2035 can be the next big milestone in our golden age of America. That's 10 years off still? 9 years off? They're planning in big chunks now. They're showing you. I am appointing Miami native Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio to chair the efforts of coordination and advancing this exciting opportunity to convene the world. And he goes on to brag how he got the World Cup here. He got the Summer Olympics here. America 2250, G20 Doral, and the G7. I don't even know what the hell the World Expo 2035 is, honestly. We'll have to look that up, but we got 9 years. Okay. Going forward here, Trump making Social Security great again. It's wonderful. He's making a Ponzi scheme great again. This is a report out of the Washington Times. Yeah, it's just saying he's propping up Social Security, really. Yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme. Sorry to tell everybody. I want my money back. I'll probably never get it out of what I paid into it here now. Ahead of March for Life, Trump administration ends funding for research using aborted baby tissue. Trump says, heading back to D.C., it was an incredible time in Davos. The Greenland structure is being worked on and will be amazing for the USA. And the Board of Peace is something that the world has never seen before. Very special. So many good things happening. We've never seen such brazen genocide profiteering. So now we're officially, America, that is officially out of the World Health Organization. U.S. withdrawals from the World Health Organization. U.S. owes the World Health Organization $260 million in fees. World Health Organization faces budget crisis. Staff cuts linked to U.S. exit. U.S. official says country does not intend to return to the World Health Organization. Global health experts urge U.S. to rethink it. Well, as soon as a Democrat gets back in there, we're jumping right back in. You better believe it. Or maybe even another Republican. We're jumping right back in to the old World Health Organization because we have pandemics to, have them save us from, you see. But as of now, under the Trump administration, the U.S. is officially out of the World Health Organization. U.S. House of Representatives passes additional $1.2 trillion spending package for the Pentagon, education, transportation, health and human services, and the Department of Homeland Security, according to the AP. And then again, Trump sues JP Morgan Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, in a $5 billion lawsuit for debanking him for political reasons. Here's that story. Lawsuit claims JP Morgan's decision came about as a result of political and social motivations to distance itself Trump and his conservative political views. Trump is not conservative, actually, but that's the character they want you that he's playing, that they want you to believe that he is. Trump's a New York liberal, honestly. So that's the reality of the situation here. And he has no really firm set political ideology or principles or anything. He's a fake populist, is what he is here now. Record numbers all over the place. He's the greatest Trojan horse, right? Trump's the greatest Trojan horse to bring in technocracy, all the while posing as a great American nationalist populist president, when nothing could be further from the truth. And it seems the large majority, well, all of your fake conservative media in the mainstream and the alternative, they're just selling you straight up propaganda and lies to usher in technocracy. Record numbers all over the place. There's a bad poll, Trump laments. A good poll, he cheers. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Record numbers all over the place, screaming it, right? Written in all caps there. Should I try for a fourth term? So what he's saying, that he served a third term? Stay warm out there. It's pretty chilly over where I am in the Central Valley of California, but nowhere near a whole bunch of the rest of the country. It is very foggy here, and so drive slow in the fog. But it's being reported here now by weather.com. Massive winter storm with damaging ice in south, heavy snow from Texas to northeast to affect over 230 million people. Stay warm out there. Stay warm out there during this snow and ice storm coming in. It's going to affect a large portion of the country. Here's is this the Weather Channel? I think it's the Weather Channel. Just put up this graphic quickly and take a look. And that's not even talking about the weaponization of the weather, right? That may also be playing a role here. Stay warm out there, and you can see this storm front, heavy snow, damaging ice expected Friday through Monday, all right here. So if you're in this area, stay warm. All right, where are we at here? Okay, so yesterday, I thought it was a big deal. I guess it's not. Who cares about your Fourth Amendment right. You know what I mean? It's like a conspiracy theory now, I guess. But allegedly, we fought a revolutionary war against Great Britain to establish our natural rights in the Bill of Rights. Guess it's all just fake, right? Because the federal government can just write a memo and override your alleged constitutionally protected Fourth Amendment. They violate it every day, every nanosecond of every day by stealing all of our data with no warrant. But this is coming. This is where the rubber meets the road, where they're straight up kicking in your door with no warrant. Are you hiding illegals under your floorboards now? And so what is sold to us as a mass deportation campaign is turning into a violation of our rights on the way to allegedly do mass deportations, which they haven't done in a year here now. Last numbers, and we can't even believe, I wouldn't trust their numbers, but their official numbers yesterday, Ice Barbie told us 675,000 illegal aliens have been deported in the first year under Trump. And we're looking at 50 million illegal aliens in this country. So the mass deportations are simply not coming to fruition. But along the way, the federal government is violating our rights, creating this giant surveillance state and FEMA camp system. Oh, I'm sorry, migrant detention centers, i.e. FEMA camps. Now they're openly violating our Fourth Amendment. Here's the reply by this government propaganda lady for Department of Homeland Security, Trish McLaughlin. She says, in reply to this Associated Press story reported yesterday, that ICE doesn't need a warrant. She says they have an administrative warrant, which is in the Constitution. Oh, it's not really, and a big part about the tyranny that Ola UK bestowed upon us way back in the day, kicking off the Revolutionary War. And so you have red coat attitude here out of the Department of Homeland Security. Not really shocking, but kind of, for them to just come out and say it. They have an administrative warrant. Administrative warrants have been used for decades and recognized by the Supreme Court and lower courts. In every case that DHS uses an administrative warrant to enter a residence, an illegal alien has already had their full due process and a final order of removal by a federal immigration judge. The officer also has probable cause. Do they now? Do they? So right there, again, government violating your Fourth Amendment right. They don't need a warrant. They just write a memo and say, there's weaponized illegal aliens hiding underneath your floorboard, and kick your friggin' door in. And so that is the essence of tyranny. Part of that funding bill we talked about earlier was $10 billion in funding has just been passed out of the House of Representatives to go ahead and fund said Department of Homeland Security, ICE tyranny. Again, not doing mass deportations, violating our Fourth Amendment, shooting women in the face, running around saying everything's weaponized against them and they fear for their lives. The government has created this environment to cause this strategy of tension, to divide the American people, and it's beyond disgusting. It's beyond tyrannical and treasonous, and that is your government, both sides and everybody in the middle. But this guy got away. Take a listen to this story. We should all be as lucky as this illegal alien. Man charged in largest jewelry heist in U.S. history avoids trial by getting deported. So imagine that. A suspect in the largest jewelry heist in U.S. history was deported to Ecuador, halting his prosecution for a $100 million Brinks truck theft. Imagine that. Go rob a Brinks truck. It's got $100 million in the back. And you and I do it as citizens. We're going to get life in prison, probably get killed trying to do the robbery in the first place. But say we make it past that and we get busted, we're getting life in prison, 20, 25 years to life for this. This illegal alien, he gets busted doing it and winds up getting a free ticket back to Ecuador. Imagine that. Federal prosecutors say they were unaware of the deportation and still want to prosecute, while the defendant's attorneys asked that the case be dismissed. Well, yeah, it's not even there. He's been deported. The deportation raises questions about federal agency coordination with most stolen merchandise still unrecovered and jewelers questioning whether it could have been prevented. Imagine that. What a lucky guy. Call me skeptical. Sounds like an inside job to me. And they work some kind of inside angles here, getting away with a bunch of the loot. The Brinks big rig was robbed of around $100 million worth of gold, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and luxury watches in 2022. So they're saying in this article out of the LA Times, most, if not all of the loot was not recovered. And this guy gets a free ticket back to Ecuador. Something ain't right, right? Something ain't right. Other than just government's incompetent. There's something more going on here. But in this story, they want to write it off to federal government incompetency. I don't know. I'm having a hard time believing this. In June, the 7 men from the Los Angeles area, ranging in age from 31 to 60, were indicted on theft and conspiracy to commit theft charges for their alleged role in the robbery. So there you go. Conspiracy to commit theft. And you get deported, free ticket home to Ecuador. Huh. Good job getting those bad guys. So yeah, Ice Barbie's telling us out of Department of Homeland Security, they are monitoring the situation there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, ICE, every agency, whole bunch of them, they're monitoring it as we await to see how things are going to develop there. They arrested this guy with the F Trump hat, who allegedly went and disturbed church services over there on Sunday in Minnesota.
Yesterday, I went into a church with Nakima Armstrong and I protested these white supremacists. The pastor of the church is a fucking ICE leader in the city. As you can see, all these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps.
So Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? You want to come and give me charges? So be it.
Yesterday.
Well, they did. They did arrest this guy. William Kelly is being charged with conspiracy to deprive rights, a federal crime, for his involvement in St. Paul church riots. Here he is being arrested for conspiracy to deprive rights. They're very proud of this arrest at the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security. A third subject, the FBI tells us, has now been arrested connected to targeting City's church in Minneapolis Sunday. They're protecting the Christians at church. They care about the Christians. Let me tell you. Imagine if they jumped this fast to arrest corrupt politicians. Then we'd have a story, wouldn't we? J.D. Vance went to Minneapolis today. Let's take a listen to what he had to say. Calling out, saying that Democrat officials put the public safety at risk. Well, then shouldn't they be under arrest? And they're threatening. The White House has continually told us they're threatening public officials. If you or I and don't do it, threaten a public official, they're kicking in our door. They're arresting us right now. They do it, and it's just creating more tension between the people, and no one's ever held accountable for their inflammatory rhetoric leading to violence coming directly from the government.
Here's another example of how the lack of cooperation between state and local officials makes it harder for us to do our job, turns up the temperature. Let's say, for example, we have a criminal migrant who is a sex offender. And let's say that we've got to go and arrest that person who, Democrat or Republican, wants a sex offender living in their community. I would assume, I would hope that most people don't. But because they're an illegal alien, we don't know their last address. We may have known their address 3 years ago, but we don't know their address now. What we'd like to do is talk to local officials and say, you know what, according to the Medicaid rolls, where was the last address this person was domiciled? Or according to a SNAP application, a food stamps application, maybe that could give us insight to where this person is today. Or maybe they had some local court trouble. We could go to the local courthouse or even the local jail and try to find where this criminal sex offender is today. The local authorities have been told, do not cooperate. So these guys are trying to go out and enforce the law. They're trying to arrest sex offenders, but they're trying to do it in an environment where local officials have been told, do not help them, do not provide intelligence about where these sex offenders might be. This is disgraceful. And there are a lot of things that all of us could do better to lower the temperature, but the number one thing that I learned today is that the best way to facilitate reasonable enforcement of the law, but also to lower the chaos in Minneapolis, would be for state and local officials to cooperate. Now, I will say, on one final...
Why don't they get in trouble? Isn't this obstruction of justice? I mean, I'm sure the Justice Department could cook up something, but yet we have ICE kicking in doors with no warrant and a memo. See the problem here? Those in alleged positions of authority are never held accountable. Department of Homeland Security wants us to know they're breaking down the database of illegal aliens by state here now. And so it's a searchable database for criminal illegal aliens in your state. They've rolled out the database in Minnesota, New York, Illinois, and California. Looks like targeting Democrat-run states, but it's not political, they tell us. It's for our public safety. Trump on Ilhan Omar. Trump says Ilhan Omar, congresswoman out of Somali, Minnesota, says Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is worth over $30 million. There is no way such wealth could have been accumulated legally while being paid the salary of a politician. She should be investigated for financial and political crimes, and that investigation should start now. And he yells, well, I agree with Trump, but let's investigate all of Congress as well as old Ilhan Omar, and let's investigate Trump too. He's profiteered handsomely in his first year here now. I know he's a humble civil servant philanthropist that donates his presidential salary to charity, but on the back end of that, he's constantly rigging the market with pronouncements of tariffs on again, tariffs off again, and go down the list of announcements and profiteering made from knowing ahead of time which way to bet. And they're doing it more this administration than ever before. And many other pay for play schemes, pay for access schemes, and so on and so on. So I agree with Trump. Investigate Ilhan Omar, all of Congress, and the Trump administration. Of course, that will never happen because they're all in the crime syndicate together, known as the U.S. government. rat out your neighbors on food stamps. The USDA says you can report SNAP fraud in your own community, just like this Chicago area fraudster stealing low-income nutrition programs from women and children. And so they want you to rat out the food stamp fraud there. Forget all the fraud at the Pentagon. Forget that. And your corporate welfare. We're targeting the poor people trying to hustle, trying to make a buck off of hustling food stamps. That's how we'll solve most of our fraud problems, I'm sure. And with that, where are we at here? We're already on to Davos. Davos Day 4. Let's take a listen. Here's old Jamie Dimon, aforementioned, should be in jail. That'll never happen. I'm going to unmute it, but he proudly proclaims that he's a globalist. Of course, representing JP Morgan Chase.
Ready? Here's your headline. I'm a globalist.
I'm not looking for a headline.
I've been coming to Davos all these years and listening to chatter and stuff like that. He didn't do a particularly good job making the world a better place. I think it's great we get together and talk. But what you want me to do, this is.
I want you to answer my question. It's not hard.
One headline that gets razzed up.
No, I don't. Jamie, that's not true. I'm genuine. I've asked you this question off camera.
I've made it clear. I want a stronger NATO, a stronger Europe. Some of the things Trump has done are causing that. Some are not. I'm not a tariff guy, though I'd use it in the 8 cases I had. I think they should change their approach to immigration. I've said it. What the hell else?
Yeah, he's an international banker. We kind of knew that. Thanks for reaffirming that, Jamie Dimon. Here's old Gavin Newsom lamenting Trump's authoritarianism. I got news for you. Gavin Newsom is the California psycho, and he's just as much an authoritarian as Trump. There are no good guys in this political equation.
Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. It's America in reverse. They're censoring historical facts. They're rewriting history. They're censoring books, 4,340 books, libraries, and in schools, banned in the United States of America. You're watching institutions, any institution of independent thinking is under assault and attack by the Trump administration. You're seeing what's playing out in the streets of American cities, what played out in California, the second largest city in the United States of America. 4,000 National Guard were federalized. 700 active duty Marines were not sent overseas. They were sent to my largest city in the state of California. Masked men. Guy Greg Bavino, dressed up. It's as if he literally went on eBay and purchased SS garb. Greg Bavino, secret police, private army, masked men, people disappearing, quite literally, no due process, windows being smashed, seatbelts on, being, literally just sort of cut off, people dragged in the streets, kids separated from families, knocking on doors, racially profiling American citizens. So is it surprising the Trump administration didn't like my commentary and wanted to make sure that I was not allowed to speak? No, it's consistent with this administration and their authoritarian tendencies. Forgive me, these are objective.
Remember, Gavin Newsom had the California Miracle Lottery. He literally went up there on TV like a game show host and spun the big wheel. He filled in skate parks in Southern California with sand to keep us safe from bats. He arrested people on the beach alone for not wearing masks. He sent the Coast Guard out into the ocean to arrest people because they were a threat to public safety because bats were sighted in the area. And it goes on and on and on with the tyranny bestowed upon the people of California by Gavin Newsom. And so again, there are no good guys in this scenario. Gavin Newsom is no great freedom fighter, neither is Trump. But you can see it set up right now, right? Newsom's the front-running Democrat, and they're already positioning themselves for 2028. And they're all bad. They're simply all bad. Here's Newsom. I guess Trump pulled a fast one on them, or that's what they're acting like. Maybe it happened. I don't know. I have a hard time believing any of these habitual liars. But here, Newsom is alleging that he was scheduled to speak at the World Economic Forum last night, and it was canceled, and he was denied entry into the American outpost over there. Let's take a listen to him cry about this.
And what's happening across my country, and what happened here in Davos. I was going to speak last night. It was a well-established event at the USA House. Simple conversation, discussion. After Trump's speech, they made sure that I didn't. They made sure it was canceled. And that's what's happening in the United States of America. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom.
They're 100% on board censoring, banning anybody that questioned the narrative during the medical intervention here in California. More wisdom from the info warrior, Gavin Newsom.
Society becomes how we behave. We are our behaviors. We're not bystanders in this world. The world we're experiencing happened on our watch. So in the relationship to your question, yeah, they're complicit in some respects to this moment. You know, forgive me, you brought up a tweet, but part of my approach has been a little more aggressive than perhaps a lot of American politicians. I created a Patriot site. On the site, you can go, there are knee pads that are available to purchase. The last round of knee pads sold out, just as our law firms are selling out. Many American universities are selling out, and yes, many corporate leaders are selling out to this administration, selling out our values, selling out our future, selling out what makes America great.
It's quite literally laughable. Gavin Newsom is quite literally laughable with his sentiment there. I don't necessarily disagree with his sentiment, but he is not genuine whatsoever. He's become a troll on the X, all his different troll accounts, just constant spread of lies, propaganda. He's a great patriot now, he tells us. Nothing could be further from the truth. Sorry to break that to you here. Larry Finkelstein, or Larry Fink, they're with old Elon Musk. And I saw people posting, the deep state's scared because Elon Musk is going to set the World Economic Forum straight. What? They still, it's got to be propaganda. Maybe there's those out there that believe it. They're all working together. Sorry to tell you this. There's no heroes in this. Here's Larry Fink introducing old Elon Musk over at the World Economic Forum, day 4.
I mean, there's so many myths around Elon Musk. I could tell you he's a great friend, and I constantly learn so much from him. And I'm totally inspired by what he has done. I've been inspired who he is, and I'm totally inspired by his vision of the future. And I don't think it's such a bad future. And I agree with his optimism. So, Elon, thank you. Any last words?
Well, I think my last words would be, I would encourage everyone to be optimistic and excited about the future.
There you go. Good message. Sorry, that was the end. I thought it was the beginning. We do have more from Musk here. He says, Musk went on to say, I think aging is a very solvable problem. Again, there are a bunch of transhumanists that want to live forever. Part of their philosophy, part of the tech bro philosophy in transhumanism.
Can you and I reverse aging in this new history, or are we going to see it?
I haven't put much time into the aging stuff. I do think it is a very solvable problem. Like you can. I think when we figure out what causes aging, I think we'll find it's incredibly obvious. It's not a subtle thing. The reason I say it's not a subtle thing is because all the cells in your body, with some pretty much age at the same rate.
Right.
I've never seen someone with an old left arm and a young right arm ever in my life. So why is that? That means that there must be a clock, a synchronizing clock,
Right.
that is synchronizing across 35 trillion cells in your body. And
you know what's hurting your cells, like we covered yesterday, invisibly, is the EMF pollution, electromagnetic frequency pollution. Be aware. Covered it yesterday. That's not helping people live longer for sure. More from Musk.
I heard about the formation of the Peace Summit, and I was like, is that PIEC? A little piece of Greenland, a little piece of Venezuela.
A little piece of Gaza. It's also funny as they do massive land grabs. Here's Musk making a prediction. He says, my prediction is there'll be more robots than people. What else did we have from Musk? Yeah. We'll play this clip.
And actually, my prediction is in the benign scenario of the future that the robots, we will actually make so many robots and AI that they will actually saturate all human needs. Meaning you won't be able to even think of something to ask the robot for at a certain point. Like there will be such an abundance of goods and services because my prediction is that there'll be more robots than people. So,
but how do you then have human purpose in that scenario?
Yeah, there's nothing's perfect, but it is a necessary. Like you can't have both. You can't have work that has to be done and amazing abundance for all. Because if it's work that has to be done, then you and only some people can do it, then you can't have abundance.
Then
for
it's
all.
narrow.
It's narrow, yeah. Exactly. So, but if you have billions of humanoid robots, and I think there will be, I think everyone on Earth is going to have one and going to want one, because who wouldn't want a robot to, assuming it's very safe, watch over your kids, take care of your pet. If you have elderly parents, a lot of friends of mine said they have elderly parents. It's very difficult to take care of them.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, and there just aren't enough people to take care of there aren't enough young people to take care of the old people.
Right.
So if you had a robot that could take care of and protect an elderly parent, I think that would be great. That would be an amazing thing to have. I think we will have those things. So I mean, overall, I'm very optimistic about the future. I think we're headed for
The great genius Musk, as you can see there, can barely even talk and is having a hard time selling us on our robot future.
which doesn't mean that it is without its issues. I mean, we need to be very careful with AI. We need to be very careful with robotics. We don't want to find ourselves in a James Cameron movie, Terminator. he's great movies. Love his movies, but
That's exactly where we're going, is weaponized humanoid robots. Here Musk predicts that AI will be smarter than all of humanity collectively.
And then probably by 2030 or 2031, call it 5 years from now, AI will be smarter than all of humanity collectively.
I don't think so. I think he's selling us a load of goods here, like he has in every other case. More from Musk on AI.
I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but the rate at which AI is progressing, I think we might have AI that is smarter than any human by the end of this year.
Zelensky, unelected president of Ukraine, i.e. dictator. He said at the World Economic Forum, here in Europe, we are advised not to mention tomahawks to Americans, not to soil the mood. Europe looks lost, trying to convince the US president to change, but he will not change. In regard to signing off on long-range missile attacks, munitions provided by America, long-range attacks on Russia. Zelensky went on to say, here he is.
Let's look at the Western Hemisphere. President Trump led an operation in Venezuela and Maduro was arrested, and there were different opinions about it, but the fact remains Maduro is on trial in New York. Sorry, but Putin is not on trial. And this is the fourth year of the biggest war in Europe since World War II. And the man who started it is not only free, he is still fighting for his frozen money in Europe. And you know what? He is having some success, it's true. It's Putin who's trying to decide how the frozen Russian assets should be used, not those who have the power to punish him for this war.
Here's the FIFA soccer president, says, this is not a ball, this is a magic instrument that transforms people into happy people. I hate soccer. Not making me happy.
Let me come back to this. Because this is also magic. You would think this is a ball, right? Well, that's not a ball. This is not a ball. This is actually, let me show you. Well, Well, you see, this is a magic instrument that transforms people in happy people. Again,
it is magic in the fact it's a tool used to pacify the masses. Old Finland's president doesn't seem to have gotten the memo. He says, if we want to preserve the liberal world order, we need to give agency to those countries around the world which feel that the current order was built 80 years ago in the image of the West, and especially the US. So give more power to the rest of the world. It's not going to happen. Here's a panelist at the World Economic Forum, one of these side meetings, suggesting that people should begin eating lab-grown food, calling it the best path forward.
There is a terrible cultural resistance from consumer to accept tech foods. But in my opinion, they represent the way forward. If you look at it from the ecological perspective, maybe we have to be selective, because we know from statistics, correct me if I'm wrong, that 70% of the ecological footprint of agriculture is due to animal proteins. And then on the other side, the kind of physiological, we know that an excessive consumption of animal proteins is the first cause of non-communicable diseases, which are the number one health problem in the Western society. So what about reducing the animal protein to the level which is healthy, and increasing, also optimizing the environmental impact? Why should I, use animals when I can cultivate meat and get only the best part of this? This, I know, it's a kind of a cultural revolution. It will take decades.
These guys want to sell their poison, man. They don't stop, no matter how unpopular it is. Animal proteins are healthy, though? No, they're not, Denver. And Denver's saying that, Europe and NATO stole $30 billion in Russian assets. And then he puts the definition. Well, sorry, Denver. It was an unprovoked invasion. And Russia, Putin, donated that money, actually. So, God, I could straighten that out for you. Here's the EIB president talking about miracles. And so they're rebuilding public trust, but they continue to push the same old agenda now. Oh, 300 billion. Sorry. 300 billion was stolen by NATO and Europe. But hey, we'll get to more reporting on Putin trying to direct his stolen money. But here's more about our health from those that care and have already saved the world more times than we even know.
Europe is becoming a refugee, a refuge, or a sanctuary for researchers around the world. Well, if you see that in your country you can no longer research in the area of vaccines, obviously you come to Europe. We did develop the vaccine during the COVID pandemic. I remember I was a minister at the time. I remember in January, February, they said, never will we have a vaccine in less than 2-3 years. By December, people were getting vaccinated. And you know what we're doing right now, the European Investment Bank is transforming pledges into money so that we can build 4 vaccine manufacturing capacities in Africa, so not just supplying the vaccines, but allowing them to develop this capacity, one of them with BioNTech in Rwanda. So actually, a lot of things are happening that are contributing to a strong role of Europe in the world.
It doesn't matter the level of failure you see, the agenda will continue. Here is another man that saved the world essentially from bats. Pfizer CEO Borla putting on a act like he's mad at old Bobby Kennedy Jr. Let's take a listen. This is one of these side meetings at Davos.
It's a different world when you start discussing vaccines. There is almost like a religion there. Mm-hmm. So I'm very concerned, very frustrated with that. But I continue engaging, and we have, as I said, a very strong and respectful, both ways, relationship, and we can chat about that.
So sort of discuss the things that you can get agreements on and park the issues that you kind of fundamentally disagree on. Works for a while, but it's not a sort of sustainable kind of thing for years to come. Something has to change, no?
The Secretary of Health.
Yes.
It's laughable. They put on the show, they're great intellectual leaders of the world, all this. Hey, I'll have a $1 billion company too if I have indemnity on my product and it's mandated by the state. Wow, you're a genius. You're a genius CEO, bud. You know what I mean? It's beyond laughable. All of these, the front they put up. Give me a freaking break. And with that, we're going to take our live commercial break. It's about all we had out of Davos today. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there, a white background sticker, and the clear sticker. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your work locker. You'll get a new one. Sorry, this is the old. That's an old sample version, but you'll get a nice, clean new one. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat. Help spread the word about Weaponized News, independent reporting and analysis, brought to you here 5 days a week. The link to our store is in the description below this video. If you want to support other ways, you can subscribe on Locals over there through Rumble. You can subscribe on our Substack. All of our material is always free. We got kicked off of Rockfin for putting out too much free material. And so we're supported by you, the viewers. You don't hear me doing any commercials. Our only sponsor is my own company, Abazaba Enterprises. So you see, we are truly independent here at Weaponized News, and your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you to all the subscribers. Again, we take donations as well. Go to weaponizednews.com, PayPal, secure link right there on the front of the page for donations. If you don't want to patron the store, we have a links below in the description of this video, right down there. Again, the store link, buy me a coffee link, Cash App link, and Bitcoin wallet address right there. Any of those ways of donating to Weaponized News are greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for all of your support in that regard. Give us that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Again, a reminder, as the kids say, yesterday's show was a real banger with 7 C's and Ruckus. Everybody go take a look at that on all the Weaponized News channels. Most action I've had on X from that show, I believe in large part due to 7 C's audience, but I appreciate all of the newcomers to Weaponized News. Welcome, and thank you 7 C's for your audience coming over here and seeing what we're doing. With that, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Thursday, January 22nd, 2026 edition. Let's take a look now. A little geopolitics. Carney, banker out of Canada. He says Canadians are inclusive. He's been running around saying he's joining up with Chinese New World Order the last few days. and letting out of the bag the liberal world order, as they call it, or neoliberal world order, rules-based international order, I believe is how they call it. Those in high society. He's said over the last few days since World War II, yeah, we're just joking about all that. You know what I mean? So he's saying quite a bit, old Banker Carney out of Canada. In this instance, he says, Canadians are inclusive. We know our country is stronger when everyone belongs. It was manifest in our adoption of multiculturalism, first as policy, then as law. And then he goes into this long explanation. I didn't even know, but apparently I'm not up to date on my political correctness. So let's take a listen and get updated and get in line with Canada.
A strong and united Canada stands up for families and workers and protects those who are most vulnerable, whether they're a newcomer, a person with a disability, or a member of the two-spirited LGBTQI plus community.
He can't even barely say it. The two-spirited LGBTQ plus community. Like, seriously, we're recognizing all that. Can we just say we're all humans with natural rights given to us by our creator? That kind of covers the spectrum instead of breaking up everybody into these protected classes. If we all said we're all human and we all have natural rights bestowed upon us by our creator, then we could unify against the evil 0.01%. They can't have that. We have to all be broken up into our little groups here now. Even the two-spirited LGBTQI plus community. It's all, the government don't give a damn about you, me, or any of these people. They actually want us, depopulated. A little more on the geopolitical economic front. Germany now is calling for their gold back. Bring back our gold. It's not safe with Trump. Bild, the big German newspaper, put out this headline. And with that, let's take a look at today. Where are we at today? Let me take a look at the old app on the phone quickly and give you up to the minute prices here on the precious metals. They've been blowing up here exponentially, essentially. Geez. Gold, the price of gold right now live is $4,948, almost breaking 5,000. I'm sure it will break 5,000 here soon. And then silver on another insane run. Silver now live trading in Asia, $98.59, pushing $100 for the price of silver today. Pretty incredible run that the precious metals have made in the last year, the last month and a half, especially here now, as Germany calls for their gold back. Remember when we audited Fort Knox and we found our gold, and it reassured every American's heart that there was something backing up something, that the public treasury had the public's gold, and we were issued a dividend check for said gold. Oh, none of that happened. Just trust me, bro. It's there. It's there, bro. That's why Germany wants their gold back, because they're not really in the trust game so much, it seems, as far as trusting President Trump, as he's used gangster capitalism against NATO, essentially, to strong arm Greenland away from Denmark. Trump donor Palmer Lucky's Androl Industries will invest $1 billion, not in the, not to be on Trump's peace board, but in a new Long Beach campus developing advanced weapon systems like drones, missiles, robotic submarines, and autonomous fighter jets, i.e. Skynet, i.e. technocracy. Isn't it also wonderful? U.S. Army begins transfer of ISIS prisoners from Syria to Iraq. CENTCOM said, and what? Why are we freaking there? You know what I mean? Because the war on terror, 25 years later, we're still getting those damn Al Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, whoever the hell they are. We're getting them still, and somehow we're still there in Syria, now transporting prisoners around. Yeah. CENTCOM said it transferred 150 militants to a secure Iraqi facility, and that thousands more would be transferred one day after a major breakout of extremism in northern Syria. We've been reporting on that heavy fighting going on in Syria, but have no fear. They're led by Al Qaeda as the president. Oh, but he's reformed, so have no fear there. And somehow we're responsible for ISIS terrorists and transporting them, because it was reported that they were being released by, you can't even, every time it's like it comes out, yeah, these are Western creations, these terror groups. They changed the name to confuse and muddy the waters. They've been called ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, HTS, and a bunch of other different variants, right? Daesh, the Islamic State, and it just goes on and on and on. So, yeah, America military, CENTCOM is over there directing all this. Okay, we got to beat the terrorists, man. Anything to defeat the terrorists. The war on terror going strong here under Trump, 25 years after 9/11. Thank you very much for that. Glad we're winning the never-ending war on terror. U.S. transfers thousands of ISIS prisoners from Syria to Iraq. U.S. Central Command has announced a new mission to transfer ISIS detainees from northeastern Syria to Iraqi-controlled facilities, beginning with the transfer of 150 fighters from al-Hasakah, with up to 7,000 detainees potentially moved. CENTCOM claimed the operation is coordinated with the Iraqi government to prevent prison breakouts and maintain regional security. Because as the Constitution says, America is police of the world, right? Right. So it's we're bound by our constitutional duty to go ahead and police Syria, Iraq, and the whole area of West Asia, as we'll get to with the peace board. Jordan, right there on the other side of Aardvark land, well, turns out they're pretty damn tyrannical as well. Jordanian authorities have used Aardvark-made digital forensic software to track and extract data from the phones of civil society's activists, according to a new report by cybersecurity researchers at Citizen Lab. The research says tools produced by Tel Aviv-based company Cellbrite were used to access data on seized phones without consent. Citizen Lab said forensic analysis of 3 iPhones and 1 Android device belonging to detained or interrogated activists uncovered indicators of compromise linked with high confidence to Cellbrite products. Court records reviewed by the researchers also indicate the software was used in criminal cases against activists in ways that may violate international human rights treaties ratified by Jordan. I got news for you. They don't care. I guess they're lucky their phone didn't blow up in their face, right? Just saying. You would rather be spied on than having your hand and face blown off by an exploding communication device, wouldn't you? More on Putin here now and the stolen loot. Putin says go ahead and use $1 billion of the stolen loot aforementioned by NATO. Go ahead and use some of that 30-odd billion stolen loot from Russia, which was stolen under sanctions. Go ahead and use that $1 billion of that to contribute to Trump's extortion board, his genocide profiteering board. Oh no, his board of peace. So a slick move there by Putin, because every member of the board of peace has to put up $1 billion up front to be part of the genocide profiteering outfit, the board of peace. According to Lebanese American professor Assad Abu Khaili, the American University of Beirut has banned legal scholar and United Nations Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese from speaking on its campus. Well, yeah, she's writing all these big UN reports documenting the genocide. We can't have that. She's under heavy sanctions. And then, of course, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we voted for Jared Kushner, didn't we? He's not even, he has no business there. He's taken no oath. He's just a genocide profiteer. And now he's meeting up with old Putin again. Somehow, some way, he's brokering peace deals around the world to profiteer handsomely, I'm sure. What the hell, man? Denver says Trump is the catalyst proving the U.S. debt is no longer equitable and won't be paid back. That is what is driving the price of metals. Yeah, that's probably part of it. I'd say that is part of it for sure. The uncertainty that Trump is creating in U.S. debt. The U.S. and Ukraine have discussed proposing a limited emergency ceasefire to Russia as part of a wider effort to de-escalate the war. Under the idea, Russia would halt airstrikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, including power plants, heating systems, and water facilities, in exchange for Ukraine stopping attacks on Russian oil refineries and Russia's shadow fleet of oil tankers. Putin is seen as unlikely to agree because strikes on Ukrainian energy networks are viewed by the Kremlin as a key source of pressure and leverage, especially during wintertime. Ukraine also has reservations. Kiev's long-range drone campaign has been successfully hitting Russian oil and gas facilities, and more recently, oil tankers in the Black Sea and Mediterranean, which Ukrainian officials see as directly undermining Russia's ability to fund and sustain the war. That's a report out of the Financial Times. So both sides are liking what they're doing in the war here now. It's horrific. Stop the war in the face of a U.S. trying to broker some type of peace deal, ceasefire, de-escalation, but we know how the ceasefires are working out so far. The Trump administration is reportedly trying to push for regime change in Cuba by the end of this year. We have to have Cuba as part of the North American technate, or the American technate, you see? So we will acquire Cuba one way or another. It's part of the agenda. Nothing to do with fighting communists and raising the Cuban people out of poverty. Trump and old Rutte, head of NATO, reached a verbal understanding on Greenland, but no written deal exists. The same with a bunch of these trade deals all over the place. It's a bunch of talk, no formal document signed that they post. I don't know. Maybe it's a secret. It's all secret, and we just are not privy to it, even though they're allegedly representing our interests. Another one of these deals, it's a handshake backroom deal, apparently, between NATO and Trump to acquire Greenland. No paperwork necessary. We have a big force going toward Iran right now. So in our dystopic Orwellian reality, Trump would propose he did establish the Board of Peace today, and subsequently turn around and do a bombing campaign against Iran. Trump said, we have a big force going toward Iran. We have a massive fleet heading in that direction. And we've been reporting on military assets positioning all in that area. And last week, it was reported widely that an attack on Iran was imminent, but somehow Trump says that if they were going to hang the protesters, 800 plus, then we were going to have to do something to save the poor Iranians. But the Iranian regime did not hang all these protesters. So that's what we backed off, is the story they've been telling. But other reports say that Aardvark land was not ready yet for an attack on Iran and expected retaliation by Iran. So all that is still in the hopper here, and they're cooking up a scheme to attack Iran. Make no mistake about that. Aardvark land, as is reported daily, bombing the hell out of Lebanon. 2 people were killed, 19 injured, including journalists, as a result of heavy attacks on multiple villages in the last 24 hours in southern Lebanon. Trump established the peace board today, and there's an ongoing ceasefire. According to the Gaza Ministry of Health, in the last 48 hours, there's been 11 Palestinians killed and 7 injured due to ongoing artillery fire and other attacks by the Aardvark army. They're on Gaza. Aardvark military helicopters open fire, chain machine gunning central Gaza Strip, reported earlier today, and they're stacking the bodies. Reminder from the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, winter conditions pose a serious threat to the lives of hundreds of thousands of displaced children and their families living in temporary shelters across the Gaza Strip. Yeah, well, at least they're not bombed. The risk of hypothermia, waterborne disease have become a daily reality, especially for children who are already the most vulnerable there. What are we doing with Greenland? Here's old Netanyahu letting you know he's part of technocracy. You better believe it. Flashback to 2018 of Bibi's presentation on Greenland.
Go to Greenland. They must have some satellite needs or something that we could do there. But we're coloring the world blue. You know, when I joined the Foreign Service 105 years ago, as the DCN to this city, Washington, the number 2 in our embassy, I think we had about 80 or 90 countries with whom we had diplomatic relations. Now the number is 160, and there are very few countries left. By the way, what are we doing with Greenland? We got to do something with Greenland. Where's my advance team? Go to Greenland. They must have some satellite needs or something that we could do there. But we're coloring the world blue.
Well, Greenland, I don't know, it got released somehow. It's just something we talked about. Denmark essentially owns it. We're very good allies with Denmark. We protect Denmark like we protect large portions of the world. So the concept came up, and I said, certainly strategically it's interesting, and we'd be interested, but we'll talk to them a little bit.
It just came up. It's been a 100-year-old plan here now that's coming to fruition as we're running headlong into 2030. Sadly, Bibi, Netanyahu skips board of peace signing in Davos over fears of arrest. Switzerland has stated it would enforce the ICC warrant against Netanyahu should he visit the country. So, very antiseptic out of the Swedes there. Surprised why aren't they being sanctioned by America? Know what I mean? If we didn't have double standards, we wouldn't have any standards at all. You see, but sadly, Bibi not able to attend in person the Board of Peace signing ceremony in Davos over fear of arrest. Quite something. The cradle is hip to the game. They put out this post. They say the logo of the U.S.-led Board of Peace, supposedly established for Gaza, features North America and part of South America. It closely resembles a map of the technate of America. Kind of does. You know what I mean? Kind of does. Like exactly like the technate of America. I'm sure it's just a coincidence there. Wikipedia has updated Donald Trump's profile, now listing him as the chairman of the Board of Peace. Yeah, part of the racketeering operation known as the Board of Peace. It cost $1 billion to join, but I'm sure the investment will be well worth it, as we've continued to reported here. Genocide profiteering is off the charts. Trump Kushner reveal Gaza master plan, Board of Peace launch. Pretty incredible. Well, they say every bobblehead Levitt, press secretary lady, says every liberal who has ever chanted Free Palestine should watch this video from the head of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza. Peace and prosperity in Gaza are underway thanks to President Trump. They're literally stacking bodies. There's a major disconnect here going on. Here's the jokers on the Board of Peace, i.e. genocide profiteers.
as everyone can see today, the first steps toward a brighter day for the Middle East and a much safer future for the world are unfolding right before your very eyes. Together we are in a position to have an incredible chance. I don't even call it a chance. I think it's going to happen. To end decades of suffering, stop generations of hatred and bloodshed, and forge a beautiful, everlasting, and glorious peace for that region and for the whole region of the world, because I'm calling the world a region. The world is a region. We're going to have peace in the world. And boy, would that be a great legacy for all of us. Everybody in this room is a star, or you wouldn't be here. There's a reason that you're here, and you're all stars. You're the biggest people, the most important people in the world.
They're there because they paid $1 billion and are looking to profiteer off of genocide, smart cities, and technocracy.
World, most powerful people in the world. And when you use that genius that you have, that very unusual, very inspired genius, when you use that for peace, the opposite of peace has no chance. So I just want to say it's tremendous to be with you, and I think this is something that we're doing that's very important. This is the most important. I was so looking forward to being here, and yesterday was a tremendous success. A lot of good things happened, but this was something that I really wanted to be here and do, and I could think of no better place because so many people were together.
But sadly, our shadow president Bibi can't attend. Here's Kushner. Keep in mind, Kushner's just a dude. He doesn't even work for he's under no official capacity whatsoever representing the Trump administration. So, but he's just a dude. He's really just a dude, but they're portraying him as part of the Trump administration. He's not. It's like, what is this sorcery of fraud being perpetrated upon us? Here's Jared Kushner's presentation on Gaza.
So quickly, I'll go through this 2-year war, 90,000 tons of munitions. There's over 60 million tons of rubble there, and tens of thousands of fatalities. Through the ceasefire, we were able to get to through the 20-point plan, ceasefire, release of hostages. Getting the UN resolution passed was a huge, huge effort. Really thanks to Mike Waltz and the whole team there. They did an incredible job. And we've then, with the help of the UN, we've worked very, very well with them. This is why you need a new organization like the Board of Peace to work with the UN. I want to thank Tom Fletcher. Did an incredible job of really getting it going. We've done historic humanitarian aid. Going forward, number one thing is going to be security. Obviously, we've been working very closely with the Israelis to figure out a way through de-escalation. And the next phase is working with Hamas on demilitarization, which I'll talk about in a second. But without security, nobody's going to make investments. Nobody's going to come, build there. We need investments in order to start giving jobs. We want to take these people. 85% of the aid of Gaza, 85% of the GDP of Gaza has been aid for a long time. That's not sustainable. It doesn't give these people dignity. It doesn't give them hope. And so we want to use free market economy principles. A lot of what President
Sorry, I was muted. I was just saying that they want us on universal basic income because the robots are going to make everything a luxury for us, we're told. But Gaza living on welfare, well, that just, destroys their dignity.
Trump spoke about that he's doing in America. We want to bring the same mindset, the same approach to a place like Gaza to give these people the ability to thrive and have a good life. Let's see. So on the aid, I mentioned the UN. So now people are talking about famine. 100% of the food needs are met, and that's been overabundance. The cost of goods have gone down tremendously. Over 55,000 trucks have gone in, and over 1.4 million pallets. And it's been the largest humanitarian effort done into a war zone that anyone's been able to tell us about. This really has been a great joint effort that everyone's been able to.
Yeah, remember the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation where little kids would go up there looking for clean water and get shot in the face? Yeah, it was quite an effort
to do, and so it's a great thing. We all just heard from Ali. We have been so impressed. Steve and I were speaking to him and the entire committee. Such bravery of these people to step up. And we've worked with the Palestinian Authority, who's been helping us as well. But this committee is the first time it's a technocratic, apolitical committee. I really want to thank the Arab partners for helping us select the right people to do this. And we just need to believe in them and support them. I put this up here. It's probably a little too small for me to read, but this is really important if you saw the mission statement. So Hamas's mission statement was, we need to destroy the state of Israel. That has not worked well for the people, as we've seen. Their mission statement is, we are committed to establishing security, restoring the essential services that form the bedrock of human dignity, such electricity, water, healthcare, and education, as well as cultivating a society rooted in peace, democracy, and justice, operating with the highest standards of integrity, transparency. So these are the basic things. Their goal is to have peace and to help their people, which is an obvious mission statement for a government, but actually fairly novel for Gaza. So we did a master plan. We brought in, I thank you, Yakir Gabay, who's one of the most successful real estate developers and brilliant people I know. He's volunteered to do this, not for profit, really because of his heart. He wants to do this. And we've developed ways to redevelop Gaza.
They're doing this not for profit out of their philanthropic heart. You see, it's so sick. It's laughable at this point. Here's your smart city prison, 15-minute city, technocratic prison grid.
As President Trump's been saying, has amazing potential, and this is for the people of Gaza. We've developed it into zones. In the beginning, we were toying with the idea of saying, let's build a free zone, and then we have a Hamas zone. And then we said, you know what, let's just plan for catastrophic success. Hamas signed a deal demilitarized. That is what we are going to enforce. People ask us what our plan B is. We do not have a plan B. We have a plan. We signed an agreement. We are all committed to making that agreement work. There's a master plan. We'll be doing it in phasing. In the Middle East, they build cities like this in 2-3 million people. They build this in 3 years. And so stuff like this is very doable if we make it happen. Rothel will start with, this will show a lot of workforce housing. We think this could be done in 2-3 years. We've already started removing.
Smotrich, finance minister of Aardvark land, has said this is a no-go. You know what I mean? So Palestinians aren't going to be living in this 15-minute city, smart city they're proposing to create. That's for sure. I don't know who's going to be living there, but it's not going to be Palestinians.
The rubble and doing some of the demolition. And then New Gaza. It could be a hope, it could be a destination, have a lot of industry, and really be a place that the people there can thrive, have great employment. Once this starts going, we think there should be 100% full employment and opportunity for everybody there. And we have a lot of data on what can be, but we think that this really gives the Gazan people an opportunity to live their aspirations. But it all starts with security, and it all starts with governance. Final note I'll just say on the Board of Peace, which is that all the lessons we're doing is we're basically studying the best practices from all over the world, and we're watching who does education the best, who does healthcare delivery the best. All of these things it's not secret IP. All this is IP that the Board of Peace is going to make public, and we want to encourage all the countries to be able to follow these best practices. A lot of the things that President Trump is doing in America, if they're working, we should all be copying them. If we find what's working in other countries, we should be copying them too. And so what the Board of Peace will have the ability to do if we're successful with Gaza is really show how do you do peace implementation, which is something that when we got this deal done, we didn't really find too much expertise or know-how on how to do it. So as we're creating this system, hopefully it's something that we can just document.
They don't know how to make peace. Stop pulling the trigger. I know it's hard, but you could stop pulling the trigger and that would be peace, you see.
These learnings and make them available to all else who want to use them in the future. So demilitarization.
What do they say on the Rumble fallout in real life? Indeed. Indeed.
This is something we're starting now that we have a new government in Gaza. This government will be working with Hamas on the demilitarization to really take the principles that were agreed to in the document to the next phase. And hopefully that will be successful. Without that, we can't rebuild. So if Hamas does not demilitarize, that will be what holds back Gaza and the people of Gaza from achieving their.
Hamas said they're not demilitarizing. And again, Smotrich said this is a no-go plan.
aspiration, and that's very important. So the next 100 days, we're going to continue to just be heads down and focused on making sure this is implemented. We continue to be focused on humanitarian aid, humanitarian shelter, but then creating the conditions to move forward. So thank you. Final point I'll just make is
they demolished UNRWA camp there, so I guess you will have no opportunity for international aid through the United Nations because their outposts have been demolished. Now you only got the Board of Peace, which Elon Musk jokingly made the remark, peace like pieces? Like, yeah. Not a very good joke. Like, they've leveled the place and turned it into little tiny pieces of rubble.
This is really only possible because of the work of so many people and President Trump's great leadership. But a lot of you have been asking, how can we help? So the countries have all been incredibly generous. We'll be doing the first conference where we'll announce a lot of the contributions that will be made in a couple weeks in Washington. From the private sector, there'll be amazing investment opportunities. I know it's a little risky to be investing in a place like this, but we need you to come, take faith, invest in the people, try to be a part of it. And then finally, I'll just
come be a genocide profiteer.
Talk to people on the media and on the social media, which is this deal only happened because we worked with Israel, we worked with Turkey, we worked with Qatar, we worked with Saudi, we worked with Egypt. I mean, everyone worked together. We worked with UAE. We all worked together to make this happen. I see a lot of people trying to escalate, criticizing Israel or Israelis criticizing Turkey or Qatar. Just calm down for 30 days. I think that the war's over. Let's do our best to try working together. Our goal here is peace between Israel and the Palestinian people. Everyone wants to live peacefully. Everyone wants to live with dignity. Let's put our efforts towards promoting those who are doing the work to build this up, like Ali and his committee. Let's focus.
How's their peace? They're stacking bodies today. We have a fundamental disconnect going on here now. Looks just like the American Technate. Here's a closer look at the Board of Peace logo. They do have the olive leaves though, so that's very touching and heartwarming indeed. But there we see our American Technate. I guess I was misspeaking. I don't know. I've seen it both places, but officially, according to Cornell University, as we're citing academic sources, Cornell calls it the American Technate. So I guess that's the official academic definition we'll go with going forward. I like the North American Technate because I do believe it is one region of a larger one world government structure. So there it is. What a beautiful, what a big, beautiful golden logo for peace. Let's take a look here. Any more on that? What do they say? 2-year war. The war's still going on. They're pulling triggers and people are dying. New Rafah, which they're literally bombing rubble there and people in tents, right? 100,000 plus permanent housing units. They already had those houses, but then they were Hamas living under them, reportedly, and they all had to be demolished, sadly. 200 plus education centers, 180 plus cultural, religious, and vocational centers, 750 plus medical facilities. The new Gaza. Again, these are from the slideshow that are put on by old Kushner. It's also nice and futuristic. Looks like Reminds you of Dubai, right? Reminds you of Dubai. Oh, and then we get to, oh yeah, energy and digital infrastructure. You're going to have some data centers there for the technocracy, of course, and they're going to exploit the oil and natural gas as large amounts have been discovered, yet to be developed right there off the coast of Gaza as we continue to report. They're empowering Gazans with jobs, training, and services. They won't even call them Palestinians. Pretty impressive, right? Pretty impressive. Okay. Where are we at here? Trump signs and ratifies the Board of Peace Charter, which he's the lifetime chairman of the board of now. BlackRock CEO, head or co-head of World Economic Forum, Larry Fink says that he says the largest asset management firm in the world is an oppressed minority. Talking about BlackRock. Davos fashion statement. Robert Kraft's blue square pins on attendees' lapels. The blue square here because Hugga Aardvark today, please. The anti-hate symbol was worn by World Economic Forum co-chair Larry Finkelstein and Bank of America President Brian Moynihan. And old Patriots NFL team, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft's behind the blue square here now. And they're monitoring hate out there. So don't be hateful against them and be pro-genocide, you see. And then finally, Christian Zionist, piece of trash, Mike Huckabee, U.S. ambassador to Aardvark land, in reply to the patriarchs and heads of the church in Jerusalem, the Orthodox Christian church there, in reply to this letter, stating that, well, shall I read it? Let me read it to you and put it in context. They're denouncing essentially Christian Zionism. The patriarchs and heads of churches in the Holy Land affirm before the faithful and before the world that the flock of Christ in the land, in this land, is entrusted to the apostolic churches, which have borne their sacred ministries across centuries with steadfast devotion. Recent activities undertaken by local individuals who advance damaging ideologies such as Christian Zionism mislead the public, sow confusion, and harm the unity of our flock. These undertakings have found favor among certain political actors in Aardvark land and beyond who seek to push an agenda which may harm the Christian presence in the Holy Land and the wider Middle East. Holy Scripture teaches us that we, though many, are one body in Christ and individually members one of another, Romans 12:5, to claim authority outside the communion of the church is to wound the unity of the faithful and burden the pastoral mission entrusted to the historical churches in the very land where our Lord lived, taught, suffered, and rose from the dead. The patriarchs and heads of churches further note with concern that these individuals have been welcomed at official levels, both locally and internationally. Such actions constitute interference in the internal life of the churches and disregard the pastoral responsibility vested in the patriarchs and heads of churches in Jerusalem. The patriarchs and heads of churches in Jerusalem reiterate that they alone represent the churches and their flock in matters pertaining to Christian religious, communal, and pastoral life in the Holy Land. May the Lord, who is the shepherd and guardian of souls, grant wisdom for the protection of his people and safeguarding of his witness in this sacred land. Signed, the patrons and heads of the church in Jerusalem. And so obviously they need to be sanctioned and droned out of existence. That's what Jesus would want. Right? Right. Let's take a look now at Mike Huckabee's reply to the patrons and heads of the churches in Jerusalem.
Well, there was a letter that was put out by the more liturgical churches, the non-evangelicals, Catholic, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, a host. I think there's about 10 different denominations, and they said that they're the only ones who can speak for Christians in the Holy Land. I found that a little bit troubling because I'm not sure that anybody has the exclusivity to speak for all Christians in the world. And there was also a very, very targeted kind of a pejorative hit at the term Christian Zionist. Bianca, I consider myself a Christian Zionist. All that means is that, yes, I'm a Christian. Everybody, I think, pretty well knows that. But to be a Zionist doesn't mean anything nefarious. It simply means that you believe that the Jewish people have a divine right, and frankly, a geopolitical right, to a homeland that they have lived in for almost 4,000 years. And to say you're a Zionist means, do the Jewish people have a right to live in this land? I think most people would look at this, if they're objective, and say, well, of course they do. They've had connection here. So to say a person is a Christian Zionist, it's a Christian who respects that Jewish people should be living in the Holy Land. That's all it means. To say that it's somehow some term that ought to be fearful, or as Tucker Carlson said, it's indicative of a brain virus. There are tens of millions of evangelicals just in the United States who would be called Christian Zionists. Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday we celebrated this week, was a Christian Zionist. So it should not be something that is divisive to Christians.
There you go.
It ought to be a term that every Christian should embrace.
Well, the old patriarchs and heads of the churches in Jerusalem are not buying your Christian Zionism, Mike Huckabee. Sorry to report to you, I'm sure they will be summarily bombed. And with that, let's go take a look at some of the chat, if any. We had a very quiet chat today. People are probably still recovering from yesterday's show. Over to the Odysee. There's a few people over there. I see John. Oh no, it's Galepsy. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see here. Oh, they're making some, talking about some good old-fashioned Scottish spaghetti. It sounds tasty. John says, Musk is an idiot, and what Russ Winter calls a turtle on a fence post. The day they make a robot that can rope a sash and case window, I'll give up. Oh no, Gillespie says. Yeah, you may be having that special skill outlast the robot revolution. So you may be good there. Oh no, it's Gillespie. John said, in America, sash windows have replaced the weights and ropes with cheesy plastic, then friction fit. Yeah. Have vinyl windows not made it to Scotland yet? He says, a lot of my work was in Newtown. They wouldn't be allowed plastic. Well, that also helps when regulations protect your industry. Maybe we can have some regulations. Oh, Trump got rid of all the regulations for states to control AI. So forget about that. Barella should, yeah, we have no one's got in trouble for the bat debacle, any side of it. I guess we got a couple people for fraud of the fraud, right? And that's from the PPP loans. A few people were arrested for that, but no one is held accountable for orchestrating the bat ordeal, and they never will be. America's official stance, and that's the official story, is it was China, right? It was leaked out of Wuhan in China. That's the official story. And China's official story is it was leaked out of Fort Detrick in North Carolina. And so China and America pointing with their little bat hands at each other, blaming each other. And so nobody is going to be held accountable for it, as you can see here now. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee and keeping that chat going. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, Facebook, and Twitch, Rumble, and YouTube. Robots can't fold laundry, Ruckus says. Not yet. Maybe not yet. China and America and Aardvark land are all economic allies, Denver says. Almost like they're all working together in lockstep. With that, as always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and we'll be back.